Should we go ahead and get kicked off? All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining the call. We're excited to be here today with this webinar. We have a great lineup and great agenda that we'll get to, all focused on how the power of ThoughtSpot plus Snowflake and the expertise of KPI can help you supercharge your marketing campaigns. Just a few housekeeping items. You may notice that you're all on mute. There is chat functionality, so if you have any questions, and we hope that we do have some, please put them in the chat and I will be able to read them off. We're going to be doing Q&A at the end of the presentation, but like I said, please put everything in the chat and I will be able to read that afterwards. And then I'm sure you'll watch this and want to share it far and wide. So good news, the session will be recorded. As for who you're going to be hearing from today, we're very excited to have Ken Rudin, who's our SVP of User Growth at ThoughtSpot. Sid, who is a co-founder and CTO of KPI Partners. And then Jonathan, who's with us from Snowflake. For the agenda, it's jam-packed with speakers that are going to be talking about essentially what the challenges are that marketeers deal with today, how ThoughtSpot and Snowflake have come together to give a new and more modern way of dealing with complex challenges that these marketers have. We're going to take a look at the Data Marketplace by Snowflake and then end with a very exciting demo of how this can actually all come together so you can see it before your eyes. All right, and with that, Sid, I would like to hand it on over to you.
Great, thanks very much, Mallory. KPI Partners, we're an boutique analytics consulting company founded in 2006 and done over 300 projects. Have worked with a lot of different marketing teams, including at Verifone and other customers. Next slide, please. I'm going to go through this very quickly. And we've been recognized by Gartner twice as one of the top data and analytics consulting companies. Next slide. And we are, of course, partnered with both Snowflake and ThoughtSpot. Our Snowflake partnership, we have a Center of Excellence and pre-built solutions for both utilities to accelerate migration to Snowflake, as well as pre-built solutions for common source systems such as Oracle and Salesforce. And also our ThoughtSpot partnership, we have a Center of Excellence, we are a partner, and again, pre-built solutions and accelerators for ThoughtSpot as well. All right, enough for the commercial. Let's get to the meat of things. So what are we seeing with our customers around marketing teams? Next slide, please. So the typical marketing loop is, you segment, you use internal data to identify high-value segments, but is that really enough? Clearly, if you're trying to grow revenue, we have an example, you're going to have to go outside your existing customer base. So the use of external data, not only to find additional prospects, but also to augment the internal data with more demographic data and other data sources. You're also dealing with increasingly, as things go more and more digital, the volumes are massive, and the ability to traverse that data in an intuitive manner becomes a real challenge. Then you, of course, execute the campaign, assuming you've done a great job, and then you've got a mountain of data to analyze. So again, the high data volumes, the non-intuitive tools that make this getting the insight difficult, and then again, if you're limited to internal data, that's not always sufficient to gain insight into campaign response. Next slide, please. So here's an example of a media company that would be looking to launch a new soccer streaming service, right? So what do they want to do? They can, of course, market to existing customers, but they would love to supplement that data with external data to target customers from soccer-loving countries. Hopefully there's some folks on the call from England and other countries which have a huge soccer fan base. You can also use external data to find prospects that have downloaded sports apps like ESPN. And then once people start hitting your website for signups, you want to analyze the massive volumes of clickstream data. How do I get quick insight to this data? And then do I need external data to get true insight, right? So, who's really responding? Who's kind of getting halfway through the purchasing process but not purchasing? Do I need external data to truly gain insight? Next slide. And in addition to that, not only do I want to do the analysis that I can think of, but wouldn't it be great if my analytics tool actually augmented the analysis that I'm doing myself and look for things like anomalies, like which region's response rate has dropped off all of a sudden, and proactively tell me those things. Patterns of data. Is my campaign going viral in some areas but not in others? Trends. Which marketing content is getting the best response after 1, 2, and 3 tries? So Ken will talk about that augmented analytics capability in addition to traditional analytics. Next slide. So what kind of capabilities do I need to do all of that? So clearly, starting on the top, I need an end-user focused platform with augmented analytics. Very easy to use for my marketing team. In the middle, high-performing data platform. I need a platform that'll scale, that can handle billions of data points and so on, and can easily integrate to my marketing automation application on the right. I also would love the ability to easily share my data with my key stakeholders, such as advertisers that are looking to advertise on my soccer channel, partner companies, and so on. And then last but not least, seamless access to external data. The ability to get that external data and make it look like my enterprise data, right? Where I don't have to go to my IT team and say, hey, can I have this or that? Wouldn't it be great if I can get access to that external data in a secure, seamless manner? Next slide. So the platform that we're going to present today does exactly that. Starting at the top, Ken will talk about ThoughtSpot for the analytics portion, and then Jonathan will talk about Snowflake as the data platform, but also some key features which we think are very important to marketers, such as the data exchange, which is the ability to share data, as well as data marketplace, and he'll give a couple of examples where you can integrate seamlessly external data that can add value to your existing internal data. And of course, Snowflake is very easy to integrate to marketing automations tools such as Marketo, Eloqua, and so on. Next slide. And so I'll turn it over to Ken at this point, who will talk a little bit about ThoughtSpot. Over to you, Ken.
Thanks, Sid. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Ken Rudin, and I'm in charge of the user growth function at ThoughtSpot. Next slide. For those of you who are new to ThoughtSpot, I'll give you a quick overview. We've really focused on 2 innovations in the analytics area as the foundation for our offering. The first is that we have built an entirely new breed of search engine that is built from the ground up for analytics. So you get a very Google search-like experience to get answers to your analytical questions. The second area that we focused on is leading the market in applying AI and machine learning technologies to the data to uncover insights and trends for you automatically. These technologies are being used by some of the world's largest companies, such as Walmart and Exxon and Caterpillar and Apple. And as a result, we've been one of the fastest growing companies in the industry. Last year, we were added to the Gartner Magic Quadrant's leadership quadrant, and we are the fastest vendor to ever be added to that quadrant. And we're the first vendor to be added to that quadrant in the first 6 years. So that's a little bit of background. Next slide. The topic for today is marketing. So the fundamental point that is putting stress on CMOs is that the role is changing, and it's shifting in quite a number of ways. Historically, we've had CMOs focused on things like customer acquisition. How do we fill the top of the funnel? How do we do it at lower cost? How do we get more people to be aware of our brand? And then the way we measured whether we were doing a good job or not in our marketing roles, was looking at mostly funnel-based metrics, like how many leads were we getting and what were the click-through rates and what were the conversion rates of our campaigns. But that's changing significantly now. Now we're not just focused on the top of the funnel, the acquisition part. We have to look all the way through, and we're being held accountable for the output of that funnel, the actual revenue. And we're not just trying to acquire new customers in our existing market. We're looking to create new markets for us and grow those markets. So we're looking for wholly new opportunities. And in terms of brand, it's not just brand awareness now, it's overall brand experience, all the way from a campaign to when a customer is interacting with our product or service. And the things we're measured on now aren't the funnel metrics, they're really strategic business metrics like revenue and market share, and are we able to increase our user engagement and customer retention, which will increase customer lifetime value and improve our margins. So that's the new world. And now, if we look at kind of the things that we have to do now as marketers, the bottom line now is there's a whole set of new things we have to do, and we have to do them a lot faster. So first, as I was just pointing out on the prior slide, we have to generate new business. We have to find new markets for our products and services. And then we've got to figure out what is the right marketing mix? What channels are we going to use? What messages are we going to use? And we can't wait until the end of the campaign to analyze how it did. We need, while it's going on, really quick insights into how it's performing and analyze those results so that we can continually go back and iterate on a daily or several times a week basis to optimize that marketing mix, and then look at what is our actual revenue impact and keep doing that. So it's this cycle that has us doing these new things very quickly, very iteratively. Next slide. The challenge is the current model of the traditional BI tools don't really get us there anymore. The model was you start with the data you've got about your customers, and then from there you work with an analyst and you build out a dashboard based on what your needs are for campaigns that you're going to be running. And then they provide you a dashboard and it gives you the insights that you had asked for, which is great until you need to ask the next question, because now in the middle of a campaign, you're iterating across those steps multiple times. You're looking at what are my results right now? Something has come up. I need new insights. So suddenly the insights that the dashboard delivers aren't the ones I need anymore. And that means then my ability to act and change what's going on and optimize is broken. I don't have what I need. I'm not getting the insights I need, so I can't act. So that's the core problem. Next slide. This is where ThoughtSpot comes in. As I mentioned before, we're focused on giving you this search-like experience so that it's a very self-service environment for you, for marketers. It's really designed to be a tool for business users such as yourselves if you're a marketer. So we give you this search-based interface. So when you have that new question, you're not stuck with a static dashboard. You can just ask that question about what's going on right now and answer your own questions. And you can do this down to the lowest level of granularity. So I can get down to an individual customer and an individual action of that customer just by continuing to ask questions. I don't have to keep going back to an analyst and asking them yet again to change this report or this dashboard for me because I want to filter something slightly differently. And also because we've got this AI and ML technology integrated deeply into everything we're doing, if there are questions that I should be asking that I'm not, that's where the AI and ML will come in and say, here's a valuable insight, here's a valuable trend that you might not have asked otherwise. Next slide, please. So in this model, everybody wins. The business users win, and then the analysts win, and the whole data organization wins as well. From the business user perspective, As I was mentioning, you get this search experience that you can use yourself, that you are able to now get your own answers in a very Google-like fashion, and there's no time wasted going back and waiting a few weeks until a report that you need changed gets changed. And anytime you want more details on any piece of information, you can always inherently go down to the absolute lowest granularity of data, no matter where you are on any piece of data. And you can ask any kind of insight you want, complicated questions, and you'll still get your responses really quickly. And even things like setting up your own monitoring and alerting. So if you want to make sure a conversion rate is going above a certain level, or you want to look at customer retention, or you want to see what's trending on your revenue, you want to be notified right away, you set those up yourself. It's really easy to do. So what does that mean for the analyst? That means that the analysts, we kind of give you your life back. You're no longer spending the majority of your time focusing on yet another incremental change to a pinboard. And can I change this from a 1-year view to a 2-year view, please? Because that's what I need. And I want to be able to drill down into that region, down into the zip code area. Can you please add that capability? That's what we all spend most of our time in as analysts. You don't have to define any drill paths. Our product does that for you. And because it's self-service, you are freed from all of that time that you were spending tweaking and tweaking and tweaking incrementally the dashboards you've already produced. That gives you time back to focus on these deep strategic analyses that'll really focus on moving revenue and moving market share. And also with the technologies that we've got, you don't even have to bring the data into our own system. You can leave it where it is. And that's really important when we start talking about our partnership with Snowflake. Next slide. So let me just talk about some actual customers here. With Hulu, what they were focusing on is they wanted to improve their conversion rate from trial to subscriber, and they wanted to reduce subscriber churn. The problem that they were having was they were spending $6 million a year with an analytics vendor, but weren't seeing the success they needed. They weren't getting the insights that they needed. And one of the reasons was, the challenge was they had 37 billion rows of data. So their chief data officer recognized that she needed a new, more modern solution. So they went with ThoughtSpot, and now they've got this unified system that they can deliver to the hands of the marketing managers and the content managers, who can now answer their own questions and deliver what they wanted, which is a customer 360 view. And Royal Bank of Canada, what they were looking at is they wanted to improve and at least monitor and then improve the performance of their online credit card promotions. It was taking them 2 weeks after a campaign ran to see what the results were. And so they weren't even using those reports. They were instead using gut instinct, because 2 weeks was taking just too long. The challenge, so that was their problem. The challenge was they had 5 terabytes of data covering 7 years of their customers' history. So their IT staff and analytics team decided to go with ThoughtSpot. And what they've been able to do is deliver to 200 marketers and execs their own personalized views and their ability to answer their own questions in seconds, and not 2 weeks anymore. Next slide, please. So that's where ThoughtSpot fits into this. We want to make sure that not only if you are getting a more modern infrastructure that gives you the ability to be very dynamic and highly scalable and super flexible and cost effective, we also want to make sure that the data store, the data platform that we're working with, is equally flexible and scalable. And that's why we partner with Snowflake, who provides that for all of our customers. So with that, I'd like to hand it over to Jonathan.
Awesome. Thanks, Ken. Nice to meet you, everyone. My name is Jonathan Tao. I'm a partner sales engineer at Snowflake. Next slide, please. So before I get in and talk about the cloud data platform that is Snowflake, let's kind of see what's really been happening the last couple of years in technology in general, and how data is impacted by these new technologies. What we're seeing is a rise of the cloud, right? flexible, scalable architectures that are really increasing the amount of data that any company can get their hands around, right? And that's the second point. Not only is the quantity of data, getting extremely large, like Ken was saying with Hulu, 37 billion rows of data, but the types of data. Data is coming from different types of technologies. They're in different formats, semi-structured, unstructured data, right? This is just adding to the complexity of the data architectures that people have. Lastly, it's the people that use and need to get access to the data. Almost anyone can say they run some sort of analytics process, analytics workload in their role. Almost everyone has an analyst hat that they put on at a business, including marketers for sure. So we want to bring in technology, have a platform that can service all of these users. Next slide, please. So, where Snowflake can position itself is to drive this big business impact by addressing these trends, right? Having a platform that can leverage the scale of the cloud natively, which Snowflake can do, will allow businesses to be able to make better and quicker business decisions. With a lot of the technologies that exist now, there's a lot of constraint and costs around data management and scaling that infrastructure. Having a technology that brings that into the platform as the offering where all that sort of knobs and whistles around scaling infrastructure of the cloud is managed for you. Again, big business impact there. And it really all translates into a great customer experience with the data, whether that's performance, right, being able to maintain SLAs on the platform itself, or having great, beautiful integrations with top leading technologies like ThoughtSpot, like any part of the data stack where Snowflake would communicate with. We want to make sure that's great too. Next slide, please. So, without getting too deep in the weeds on how Snowflake can replace certain parts of the data stack, right? Know that as a marketer, you're sitting here on the right-hand side as a data consumer, right? Again, you're just one of the many parts of the business unit that has an analyst hat that needs to gain access to data that's reliable, dependable, and that has a great governance system behind that. And that's what Snowflake is going to be able to deliver. It's a native cloud data platform. So, while, yes, Snowflake plays in the data warehousing space, right, we're able to service and really perform greatly in different workloads that are all related to data specifically. And specific to this presentation about accelerating your campaigns, I really want to focus on the data exchange, data sharing, and data marketplace. Next slide, please. Cool. So what is data sharing, right? So what data sharing is this concept of being able to instantaneously and securely share live data sets from within one Snowflake account to any number of Snowflake consumers or Snowflake accounts on the consumer side, right? What's happening is really revolutionary because there is no data movement. It's, again, live access to the data. Once the data is changed by the data provider, updated for today's date, data consumers will see that change automatically, right? And it's ready to use. It's brought into the environment where data consumers are already performing those high-value analytics workloads, so there's no additional steps needed to integrate that data. Next slide, please. To really drive it home, right, the question I get is, okay, Jonathan, so data sharing, that sounds really cool. What fundamentally is that going to replace? What is my team or what are my data engineering teams doing now that data sharing can improve upon? And really, it's that idea of having to go to a website, downloading a CSV file, or going to a company's FTP website API and having to get that data and handing that information over to your data team and say, hey, I would really like to see this data alongside our CRM data, our already existing marketing data. Can you do that? That process can easily take, with traditional methods, weeks and potentially months. With Snowflake, it's literally a point and click operation. You're up and running in a matter of minutes. Next slide, please. So data sharing is great. It's going to facilitate that point-to-point, sharing of data within the context of Snowflake. Data Marketplace is the evolution of this, right? So the idea where data providers can come to this area and essentially show the world and show all the Snowflake customers that, hey, we have this data set that can enhance your existing data sets within your Snowflake account. And those data consumers can now come to the data marketplace and say, oh, these are the readily available data sets that I can, with very minimal effort, enhance my data sets, improve my analytics, because now I'm looking at additional data alongside what I have already. So unlike traditional data sharing done with APIs or copying, the secure data sharing reduces the costs, provides a better customer experience, and really the takeaway, right? Secure real-time access to the data. Next slide, please. And this is just a visualization on how that works conceptually, right? The data consumers within the context of accessing the data marketplace are able to discover, access, and instantly start generating insights by bringing in that new data set. Data providers improves the customer experience, right? Much better than sharing data to their customers in traditional methods, create awareness on what they're providing, and also generate a new revenue stream, right? We have data providers providing very specific listings that they can monetize with their data consumers. Next slide, please. So, what sort of data sets exist today, right? We have over 70 providers providing their specific curated data sets to data consumers on the data marketplace. The great thing is that you don't need a Snowflake account to get an idea of what data is out there. You can simply visit that URL, snowflake.com/data-marketplace, to get an idea of which companies are providing what type of data today on the data marketplace. Next slide, please. So in my last two sections here, or two slides here, I want to kind of talk about two data sets that are available today, and kind of give you an idea of how they're impacting customers, and they are kind of in the name of improving sort of marketing analytics. The first one being customer and campaign engagement. So if you're not familiar with what Braze data sets, what engagement they provide, so they provide customer engagement data around sort of like push events. So if you have a mobile device, you get notifications that HBO Go is releasing their new series. Because HBO is a customer of Braze, HBO actually works with Braze on the data marketplace to gain access to the engagement data for those push notifications. Right, so all the metrics around that. Braze actually lists two different types of data sets on our marketplace. One, which is free to access, which are generalized performance metrics, and then customer-specific metrics like the one that HBO uses. Next slide, please. Another company that is providing data on the data marketplace is Environics. So they provide census and demographic data around consumer spending, purchasing power by region, by demographic around the country. And what we're seeing a lot of marketers do, sort of especially in the last couple of months, is pair this data set along with another data set that is provided on the data marketplace, and Lisa will be taking you briefly through as well in a second, our COVID-19 data set provided by Star Schema, right? So noticing behavior changes for spending, where people are spending or not spending relative to the different areas of the country or the world that are affected by COVID-19. So you can see just by adding one or two of these data sets, which again, happen within minutes on the Snowflake platform, can really transform marketing-based analytics in real time. So that's actually all I had for you today. I'm going to turn it over to Lisa, who has a demo on ThoughtSpot.
Great. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Let me just grab the presenter ball here. Take a second to set up for a quick minute. Excellent. Let me know when you all can see my screen. Mallory, can you see my screen?
Yep, looks great.
Great, excellent. So today I'm going to give you a little bit of a demo on ThoughtSpot and Snowflake. And in this demo, what I'm going to be covering is B2C marketing data. And we're going to be looking at a couple of things that have conversion rates, campaign content, and we're going to be framing this loosely around some of the work that we did with Hulu and creating that marketing 360. So you're going to see things like content in the context of what you would find in a streaming vendor like a Hulu. So that could be comedy, drama, kids, and family reality. Now, if you are a company that sells more products, you could just imagine that these are product-oriented categories that you would be looking at. Now, one of the unique things about ThoughtSpot is because it's sitting on top of Snowflake and Snowflake is aggregating all of your business and your marketing data, you're going to get that complete marketing 360 and customer 360 here. So in marketing, we often have multiple channels. And a lot of times in terms of trying to understand that viewpoint of what's impacting how we're going to market and what's really doing well, and as a campaign manager, I kind of want to analyze that. You have this omni-channel approach, and you don't necessarily get a full holistic view of how am I doing across all of my web properties, for example, which is what's showing in this visualization. ThoughtSpot allows you to actually see everything very quickly. Typically, as a marketing person, I'd have to probably go into Google and look at my ad spend and then jump into Bing and then look at Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And if I wanted to see an aggregated view of that, I'd either have to turn to my analytics team or I'd have to download that information and calculate all of that for myself. Whereas here you can get a very transparent view and you can see it by touch points. So in this view that I'm seeing here, I can see by all of my channels that I can go to market with digitally, what was my first touch? And then more importantly, what was that touch that tipped our prospect over the edge and actually had them convert into a paying customer? And the same thing across all of my content types and my genres here. So kids and family, reality, comedy, and drama. Again, if you're not a streaming service and you're offering products, you can imagine this as being individual product lines. So what were they looking at? And then what was the actual product that actually got them over the line and converted into a paying customer? And like Ken was saying, it's not about just looking at this in a holistic view. You need to be able to act on these insights, and you need to be able to go really deep and very granular and personalized to try and find those market growth opportunities. It's not necessarily just about cost per acquisition, but it's about optimizing and fine-tuning how you can do these motions. And that's what ThoughtSpot really allows you to do. You can really dig into that granular level of detail very easily as a business user. So for example, if we're looking to optimize, we can take a look at some of the counties and the conversion rates here. You can see some of these counties are doing really, really well, and when the ones in yellows aren't doing as great. So as a marketer, I can go in and say, hey, in the county of Nebraska here, I'm noticing I'm not getting a lot of conversions. Let me drill down and figure out what it is in terms of my website channels that are going to market with that I may want to think about optimizing, what's working, what's not working, and ThoughtSpot's automatically looking at this. So it's showing that Instagram is working, but none of my other channels are actually working within that region. I can then look and drill down and try and find root cause analysis as to what can I do within my campaign portfolio that may optimize that. You can do this on a person level as well. So having that flexibility to really be able to drill down either by geo, by person, by product at a very granular detail is really what's going to allow me as a marketer to do that personalization of marketing at scale. So where does this story begin? Let's take a look first at how do we get something like this going. So we're going to look at the data first. So as you see here, this is going to be a little bit more of the view for your data team. You're going to be connecting into your data source of choice here. And because we have our friends of Snowflake here, we're going to be connecting to our Snowflake database. You're going to give your connection a name. And then once you get your connection and name, you're going to continue here, and you're going to log in with your Snowflake credentials simply and easily. Now, for those of you on your data and analytics team, ThoughtSpot is automatically looking at all the tables that are available to me as a data team that I can use to bring and connect ThoughtSpot to and make available to my business consumers and users to be able to ask all the questions. So as you can see here, I have tables on campaign information. I have some campaign details here. I also have some of this third-party data that Jonathan was talking about. So in this case, I've decided that I'm going to bring in the Johns Hopkins University COVID-19 data set. And I know that this is happening real time and things are changing in terms of states opening, closing, reopening. There's a lot of shifting things. And we all know that consumer behavior is actually changing based on how things are opening and closing. And so I think this is an important data set that I should be able to make available to my business so that they can have that strategic elasticity in what they're doing and the marketing motions that they're bringing and make sure that they're monitoring what's happening in the real world on real time. So once you have all your tables in, you're going to move next to what we at ThoughtSpot call a worksheet. Now, a worksheet is a virtual layer that sits on top of the data. And this is where, for those of you who are on the data team, this is where you create that search experience. So you're getting to build something once and then unleash it for your business and marketing team to be able to access it and ask all the questions that they want to ask without having come back to you, so you can figure yourself out. And like Ken was saying, you can do much more of that strategic analysis, really help the business decide where strategically do you want to grow into in terms of market growth and opportunity. So as you can see here, you could update some of the column names. You can create synonyms as well. So you may know that campaign name in your business, you're going to want campaign, or in terms of campaign content, they may actually look for content or the genre instead. You can also take a quick look at the schema. So this is your window inside Snowflake. So you can see the schema that they have in there, and ThoughtSpot is just inheriting this. Does a really good job about taking this and then not exposing this to the business user, but leveraging it in terms of the search query. And as you can see here, we have all of our fact tables and we have our Johns Hopkins University COVID-19 data there. So you've gotten your data set ready, and now you're on the business side of the house, and your business users are ready to start analyzing and searching the data to make more impactful and actionable insights when they need it. So where does this begin? So in this part of the demo, I'm going to be playing Campaign Manager, and I'm going to do a search. And the first thing that I want to do is I want to set up a couple of core KPIs that I want to look at, just give me a baseline of my business that I want to evaluate and I want to stay on tune with. So I'm going to look for impressions, and I'm just going to start typing here. I'm going to type in clicks. And as you can see, ThoughtSpot acts and works just like a consumer-based search tool that everybody's used before. So as I type in clicks, ThoughtSpot is automatically understanding, do I want clicks? I have click-through rate, or I have cost per click, just like you would get within a Google-like search experience. In this case, I really just want clicks. Next, I want to look at conversions. Then I want to look at this daily. Let's get that daily. Perfect. There we go. And ThoughtSpot automatically and within seconds has taken those data tables that we saw that we haven't done anything with, and it is understanding the business question that I have asked of the data, and it's calculating this and in seconds immediately returning the best fit visualization for me based on my question here. Now, if you were to traditionally do this as a marketing team, you had maybe one or two options. Your one option was you'd have to see if this actually existed within your existing BI tools and platforms. And if it didn't, you'd have to go back and you'd have to ask for it to be created. The other option is if you were in a tight jam and you were trying to get something out, you'd probably have to go through all of your data sources that you have, all your marketing platforms, download them, probably work in Excel with them, try and clean up the data, do the calculations, all the VLOOKUPs, aggregate that data, assemble it, calculate it, and then create a visualization like this. Instead, you're literally just accessing that business information for your personal needs here. And so what I'm going to do now is, this is my first KPI. I'm going to create a pin board here. And a pin board is just a group of pins and information and visualizations that are important to me that I maybe want to monitor or that I'm interested in observing. So I'm going to call this campaign, and I'm going to add that. Great. So I'm going to click it, and I'm going to add my pin to that. Now, one of the things that happens, and I know I've been guilty of this as someone who's interested in observing my marketing data, is I get curious about what's going on. I want to understand some of the peaks and valleys within my data set and drill down and really understand the root cause of what's causing those peaks and valleys. And that's what we're going to do here. So I'm going to quiet the other two lines here, and I'm going to look at my conversion rates over time. And each one of these points, I can actually drill down and understand these valleys and these peaks. Now, this one's the most interesting to me. I've got kind of a big peak going on here. So I'm going to drill down into this peak to find out what is really causing this. I want to understand maybe my websites that have contributed to that peak. I've got Bing, Facebook, Google. Well, I don't really like that viz, so I'm going to actually turn this into a pie chart because I like to see it holistically. And I'm going to add some of my data labels here so I can understand my conversion rates. Great. So I'm going to pin this because this was a peak moment in my time, and I want to kind of talk about what we were going on here. So pin that to my dashboard. And I can drill even further. So let's say I've just launched some net new campaigns on Facebook, and I really kind of want to understand, is that what's impacting my Facebook conversion rates on this day? Or who is actually participating in that? And I can drill down and I can find a couple of different things. I can either find by the content type, the campaign content, what's in it that actually drove those conversions. Or if I really want to understand the demographics of my audience that actually participated in that campaign, I can do a couple of things. I can drill down, I can look at their age group. I can even drill down even further if I wanted to. And let's say we're trying to kick off an initiative where we're really doing personalized outreach to our existing customer base. So I can actually look this up by customer name. And maybe I want to send a digital thank you to everybody who participated in this. Now I know a bit about them. I know that they like Facebook. I know that they're a certain age group, and these are my customers. So I can work with my marketing team to deliver personalized outreach. So I'm going to pin this one as well because I want to talk to that with my team later on this week. Great. All right, so that was one of my KPIs. Let's look at my next KPI. So I'm going to look at click-through rates. And again, the search capabilities of ThoughtSpot very much work like a search engine that you're used to. So I'm going to look at click-through rate. I'm going to look at my cost per acquisition. And then I want to look at that by channel. So again, instantaneously, ThoughtSpot is going out, getting the information, calculating this for me, and delivering my results. So I can take a look at this and monitor this on a day-to-day basis and see, hey, my search engines actually have a really high average cost per acquisition versus my social media. And I've got about a 1.8, looks like 1.6 average click-through rate and a 1.6 average click-through rate from both of these channels. So maybe I want to look at if I have a certain finite amount of budget for the week or for the month in terms of digital spend, I can reallocate and reshift based on this information. So I'm going to pin this because I want to talk about that with my manager in terms of a strategic decision that I want to make in terms of optimizing what we're doing. Great. So next query that I want to do here is I want to look at my conversions. I want to understand how it's tracking daily. And most importantly, I want to see what it looks like this month versus last month. Now, this is one that's a really interesting query. I think that this is, as a business consumer and as a marketing user, you often are looking at this. What were we tracking this quarter over last quarter? What was it this year versus last year? With ThoughtSpot, it's automatically looking and understanding that. So let's complete that query. Last month, this month versus last month. ThoughtSpot is unique in the fact, and from an analytics perspective, it automatically understands things like this versus that You can also search by top 10 campaigns or bottom 5 campaigns, and it automatically takes that information and pulls it for you. Now, if you remember, the data tables that we pulled in and connected to with Snowflake, they didn't look like this. So for you who are on the team, who are on that data side of the house, you really are free from having to build these this information. You've built a search experience that your business team can then use for their particular needs. So I'm going to look at this a little bit different because I like it by an area chart. Great, and ThoughtSpot's automatically doing that. So I'm going to say that again to my campaigns. And then let's see if we can drill down into this a little bit more, because I'm curious about how things are going. I've launched a couple of new campaigns. So I want to see by my web channel, and I'm going to go to the table view here so you guys can see what I'm looking at. I'm going to go by web channel, and let's see, we've got a couple of different web channels that we've done. Now, let's pretend for this instance that I've just launched Instagram. So I want to filter out and only look at my Instagram instances. So I can go ahead and filter here right in the table. You can see it's automatically populating in the search. So I can do it within either the table or within the actual search bar itself. Now I want to understand the campaign names that I'm running in that actual Instagram channel. And here we go. I see all my Instagram channels, the campaign names that I'm running in them, and then the daily conversion rates. So let's take a look at this data. And ThoughtSpot again is building out my query. Great. So we have this month versus last month based on campaign. Let's say I just want to explore this a little bit more. I kind of want to see it by the campaign names. Let's take a look here. And automatically, I can see everything, all my campaigns running in Instagram. So I have this campaign comedy 6. I have campaign comedy 7. This is this month's conversion. Well, the blue line is last month's conversion rate. And as a marketing analyst, I can actually take a look at this and optimize my spend based on these nuances. So I can see here that last month, campaign Kids and Family 8 did really well. And this month, actually, it's campaign Kids and Family number 7. So I'm going to pin this because maybe I want to have a discussion with my email marketing team and understand what's our content, what's our outreach, what's our ad campaigns, what do they say? Maybe we want to fine tune some of this. Also, for some of these lower ranking campaigns that don't have a high click-through rate, maybe I want to shift the spend that I had on campaign 8 and put it back down on campaign 7. So I'm going to pin this again so I can have a conversation with my leadership on my strategic viewpoint of what I should be doing. Now, we talked about that third-party market data set. And in this case, we talked about pulling in that Johns Hopkins data. Now, we all know, especially if you're in marketing, that COVID is really changing buyer behavior. It is shifting things. So when COVID first happened, we had a run on toilet paper and Clorox. Next wave of COVID in the next couple of months, there was a run on desks, and everybody was building out their home office because it looked like we were going to kind of be in for a little bit of the long haul. And this third wave of consumer behavior has now all of a sudden turned into home gym equipment. So if it's going to be changing our buying behavior, it's obviously going to change our preferences of what we're consuming in all walks of our life. So whether that's streaming data or any products or services that you're offering. So here's our Johns Hopkins COVID data that we can see. We can see which states have cumulatively the most COVID cases and which states don't. Helps me, again, optimize and understand what is going on in the real world and how to apply that real world information and get that strategic elasticity to meet what my customers may be needing in their moments as they're shifting through opening or closing or reopening cases. So let's take a look at how to layer this onto our marketing data. So I'm going to look at conversions. I'm then going to look at my content. And I'm going to look at this daily. And I'm going to lay that with the COVID-19 data. Great. So again, ThoughtSpot is taking that third-party data. I'm going to make this a stacked area chart. Let's take a look at this way and see. Great, so you can see all of our data here. Actually, I want to see the COVID data on that. So let's change that viewpoint here. Very easy for me as a marketing person to create the view that I want. I don't have to wait for someone else to create it for me. And for you guys on the data side of the house, you're not having to make these minor adjustments. As Ken was saying, you can actually look at all the data that you need. So here we have COVID cases going up and increasing. And here's my content types. So I have comedy, I have drama, I have kids and family, and I have reality. And I can see as COVID cases start to increase, my consumer behavior is actually starting to change as well. So people are looking a little bit more for that kids and family information, and they're looking a little bit even more for comedy information than they had been. And drama is starting to kind of drop off. So I know that my consumers today, given what's going on, all the drama in the world, they probably don't want to watch any drama. So they're looking for a little bit more comedy. And because kids are now at home much more, scrambling to find something that's appropriate for everybody on the family. So again, you could take this if this was your product data, you can start to see the shifts in the trends in your products and how consumer patterns and behaviors are changing over time. So I'm going to pin this one to my campaign pin board. Excellent. Great. And so now I'm going to go back to my pin board and I'm going to go into my campaign view. And I'm not a dashboard builder, but I want to set this up in a way that I want to see. Now, it looks like I have a duplicate here, so I'm just going to delete that one. And total impressions and click-through rates, this is an important one for me to follow. So I'm going to make it kind of more of my hero view there. I'm going to just resize it. Let's see, I've got my customer information data. I really only need that to be super small because I'm going to have a small conversation with some of my personalization team and customer outreach team on that one. But this one, I want to see by my campaigns name. This is much more important because I'm going to have a meeting with my boss later this week, and we're going to talk about Instagram and how well it's doing month over month and which campaigns we're doing. So I'm going to move that up there. And then for the average click-through rate by channel, I'm going to actually move this up here next to this one, and I'm going to resize this as well because I want it to look really kind of just sharp and have an easy conversation. I'm going to move that down, and I'm going to resize this. So again, I'm going to customize this viewpoint to what makes most sense to me. Great. So I'm going to save that change. Now I can follow this. So now I've built the insights that I personally want. I'm going to follow this, and I'm going to set this up on a schedule for myself. So I don't have to come in and log in every single time to see if there's anything changing. I can get a morning report if I want to take a look at it, and it's going to update me as much as I want. In addition, I can share this. So there's someone else on my team that I think it's important to get this information. I can go ahead and type in their username. And this is where that security and granular security controls of ThoughtSpot really come into play. So for your data teams that are a little concerned about this, we security at the most granular level. So I can share this with somebody, but if there's information in there that they probably shouldn't be seeing, ThoughtSpot automatically takes care of that for me. So me as a business consumer, I don't have to worry if I'm exposing data that I'm not supposed to be exposing. Maybe I don't know which ones I'm not supposed to be sharing or I can share. It's okay because ThoughtSpot take care of that for me. So in addition to that, one of my highlights of my days is being able to go on a daily walk with my dog. With all the lock-in and COVID cases, the most exciting moment in my day is going to my mailbox. So one of the things that's really nice about ThoughtSpot is the fact that even when I'm on my walk, I can go and I can get my campaign pin board that we just built. And here's my cell phone. And I'm able to look exactly at all the information that I built. So if I'm on a walk, my manager calls me, wants to understand, hey, you told me about that campaign and how we were doing. Could you tell me a little bit more details about it? Absolutely. Let me just grab my phone here, pick it up, take a look at my insights. So you can quickly move from desktop to my mobile device seamlessly. And let's say I'm traveling, once travel actually happens again, I can put this on airplane mode and I can still access my information that I need with no problem. So I've gone for my walk and I'm prepared for talking to my manager. Now, one of the best things about being able to use ThoughtSpot is our presentation mode. So as a marketer, I don't have to actually take screenshots of dashboards anymore and put them in a presentation and compile them. All my information is right here, ready to use, easy for me to have a conversation with my leadership about what's going on in terms of strategic. What's best about it is I can drill down immediately, because this is all live information and data, into exactly what's going on. So now when I'm in a meeting and someone asks me, well, what is going on there? Let's drill down a little bit more about what are the website details. I can automatically pull it in and say, Instagram was our biggest driver of this one. I don't have to wait and say, I don't know, let me get back to you, or go and ask my BI team one more time to build a new report for me. So as you saw, just a little bit of a recap, being able to lay ThoughtSpot on top of your customer database, wherever that may be, and in this case, we had Snowflake, be able to read those tables and make that table extremely accessible to the business user. So everyone on the marketing team can create and search and understand their business for their specific needs. It's aggregating all of those actions and effects that really are going to help CMOs and executive leaders really reach that next level of optimizing for revenue and for business growth. So I'm going to stop sharing here, and I think we're going to go back to Q&A.
All right. So I want to give enough time for Q&A. I think, thank you very much, Lisa. Lisa, phenomenal demo. This is Sid. So I think already a number of questions have come in. So why don't we go through the questions, and if there's time, I can talk about next steps and everything. But I want to make sure we cover the audience's questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see, Ken, just a quick clarification question for you. The question came in, do I need to move my data into Snowflake, or where do I have to move it in order to use this together?
Yeah, if you have your data in Snowflake, this is why our partnership with them works so well. You can just use the data wherever it is. You don't have to move it into ThoughtSpot or anything like that. You can, wherever your data resides, we can just access it. So if it's in Snowflake, that's a great data platform for us to work with, and you just leave it there. It's real simple.
All right, fabulous. I know we're pretty much at time, so John, let me just ask you one question. We heard from someone that they loved the search-based platform, but they just wanted to know how to get it to perform quickly.
Yep. So, with Snowflake, I mentioned sort of the scale of the cloud, right? So we have separate storage and compute. You can scale up your compute clusters to meet the needs of whatever type of workloads coming through ThoughtSpot, the type of analysis you want to do. So we're able to handle that at scale and scale up within seconds.
Awesome. We did just have another question come in for Ken, if you're able to stay on.
Sure.
It's from Joey. He says, Ken, I assume techniques/algorithms used to support supervised and unsupervised and reinforcement models. Are you able to enhance or leverage technologies such as R, Python, and others?
Yes, we are. We have interfaces where you can use your own R algorithms, for example, and apply them directly to the data that ThoughtSpot has access to. So yes, absolutely, we give you an interface to be able to do that.
Awesome question. All right, well, thank you to everybody for being able to join this call. We really appreciate your time and hanging with us. Please just reach out to any of the presenters, Sid, myself, anyone. If you have any questions, we'd love to follow up, do a deeper dive, or answer anything that you have. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks,
all right, Mallory, just one quick thing. Can we just go back to the previous slide from this?
Yeah, absolutely. Oop.
So next steps, obviously, actually, no, the next step. So call, if folks are interested, no, the one after this.
The one after this, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so basically, obviously, if you want, information on ThoughtSpot, go to their website, tons of great content there. Same thing with Snowflake, tons of videos, all that great stuff. If you're interested in any kind of an assessment, KPI, so thank you for attending this webinar. Have one of our architects take a look at your current environment and see how it can be optimized to give your marketers greater capabilities. And I think the other question one person posed to me, if folks are staying on, is, I've got, and maybe this is a question for you, Ken, in some cases customers have an existing analytics tool like Tableau or Power BI. How does ThoughtSpot play with those tools?
It's great. Yeah, it's a great question. And I would say just up front that probably most customers, certainly the ones that I mentioned earlier, that we started speaking to already had some other solution. I mean, these are some of the world's largest companies in many cases, so they certainly already have solutions in place. The reason they reach out to us is they're finding that those solutions are fine for whenever I need a static dashboard. But they're finding that their needs are changing. And as we were talking about marketing and how they're now being asked to do very different things and to iterate and optimize very quickly, they're leaving the static dashboards to monitor things that tend to be more slowly changing for their day-to-day activities where questions come up based on just what happened recently. That's where they're using and really focusing on ThoughtSpot. Oh, can't hear you, Sid.
Sorry. Mallory, we can continue if there's any other questions. I think, I'd like to answer as many as we can.
All right.
Any other ones that...
Sure. Jonathan, one for you. You showed some COVID-19 data. Do you mind just elaborating a little bit on if it's that you had to move that data into Snowflake or how that process worked?
Right. So specifically for, like COVID-19 one, whatever's on a data marketplace or is facilitated through data sharing on the Snowflake platform is not physically loaded into your Snowflake account. That's not to say you bring your own data that's loaded in a traditional means. Of course, that's a significant part of building your data environment on Snowflake, but specific to data sharing, data marketplace, that data does not physically move, is instantaneously available.
Awesome. Lisa, one for you. How is the cost per acquisition metric calculated and governed?
So excellent question. So this is where ThoughtSpot really works in terms of building that strategic bridge between the analytics team and the business users. So when you're pulling in all those data tables as an analyst, you're building that true search experience and you're standardizing across all of the business consumers. You're building it once and feeding many. And so you work with the business and understanding strategically what does conversions rate actually mean. And you build a formula within ThoughtSpot and you lock that formula in. So business users don't have to know it and they don't have to think about it. They simply type in conversion rate and it's adhering to the business logic that you have established already. So it doesn't matter who's using it or who's searching for it. It's an excellent question.
Great. And then the last one that I'm seeing here is for Ken. Ken, if I already have a data virtualization tool that I'm using inside my organization that we've already invested in, where does ThoughtSpot fit in?
I'm not sure what you're referring to with data virtualization, but if they're talking about more data, sorry?
Data visualization.
Visualization, that makes a lot more sense.
Read it wrong.
That makes a lot more sense. Yeah, if you have a data visualization tool, those are, if you have a tool like Tableau is the classic one, those are great for visualizing the data, but those are focused on being analyst tools. So it gives the analyst a lot of flexibility in visualizing data, but the result is static. So it is very difficult and close to impossible in many cases for the actual end user, the marketer in this case, to then take that and modify it to be able to answer very different questions based on what's changing in their lives day to day. So somewhat similar to my answer to the prior question is you use the data visualization to monitor what's going on in your business. So that's more, these are things that I tend to want to always keep on top of. But when you really want to figure out like what just happened yesterday, I want to understand that deeply. I want to figure out what I need to do right now to optimize my marketing mix or whatever it is. and it's every dashboard always kind of initiates this next question. So that's where we come in. When you have all these questions you need to answer, instead of having to go back to the person who created the dashboard and asking for changes, you ask yourself, that's where we fit in.
Awesome. And that's the end of the questions that we had come in. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.
Thanks, everyone.